Hi everyone, welcome to Ecole Haute Couture, School of Couture Sewing and Design. I'm Jutta Holtkamp and I'm sitting in the studio at Ecole Haute Couture. So I hope that 2021 will be a better year for all of us, and we survived 2020. We'll get through 21. Anyways, I'm wishing you all a very good year ahead. I want to have this little talk with you as a follow-up to a video that I had posted not so long ago, and it is to clarify what Ecole Haute Couture does, and is this school for you? Is it something that would help you realize your goals and your dreams? So I have about 10 points that I'll go through, and I'm wondering if you can relate to this or identify with this, or if it resonates with any or all of these with you. So is this you? So you are an avid admirer of haute couture, and whenever you get to an exhibit with haute couture on display, your mouth starts to water and your heart starts to beat, and you just wonder at the craftsmanship and the art form that is haute couture. They look so perfect, and you wonder, can anybody even do this anymore? You crave everything about haute couture garments, and you're drawn to their glamour and to their elegance and their craftsmanship. Or perhaps you are a devoted fan of a high-end designer, and you wonder who makes up their amazing clothes. You wish you knew how to do it too, but you're disappointed because you're not aware of any master couturier in your locale anyway, who still does this kind of work. And are there apprentices anymore? Who teaches sewing at that level? Or perhaps you are a creative type and you're determined to make up the design that you've played with in your head, maybe for months or maybe for years. Or in fact, you've got lots of ideas and they're pinned up on your board or they're in your sketchbook, and you want to create them. You know you can do it if only you had the right skills. But you are stuck. Everybody said, this is easy, anybody can do it, so why can't I do it? I've watched hundreds of how-to videos, so what are they not telling me? You've looked for a pattern, a commercial pattern that closely resembles what you have in mind. So you've got some sewing skills, and you finally found one, but there are some issues with it that you can't resolve, and you're confused about all the number of pieces that go with it. How do they attach? Where do they go? Why are they even there? And you're thinking to yourself, I could do better from scratch. Or how about this? You'd just be happy to sew everyday clothes that you love wearing. At least one decent winter coat that really would keep you warm and does keep the wind out, that it had all the right size pockets in the right places, and it still looks like it leaped off a runway stage. Or how about to sew a pair of comfortable trousers that fit properly and they make you look taller and your legs thinner and your booty better, or it obscures more of those embarrassing little love handles, or a jacket with sleeves that go all the way down to your wrist even when you bend your arm, and it does up in the front and it covers your bust line without having to pull on it. So everyday clothing, why can't I get it to fit right? What materials should I use? I don't even know what they're called, but it's kind of like this and it feels kind of soft and it looks like this, but I'm afraid to mess it up, and I really don't want to waste more money on fabric yet again. And what does good quality fabric mean anyway? And also your conscience is a bit biting now, and it says, what about all the mountains of clothing that's tossed away and it'll never decay. So you're already feeling bad about the environmental burden and wondering how on earth anybody can justify had anything new at all. What about repurposing the stuff that I have in my wardrobe? How do I do that? I just want something new that would last for a long time. Or is this you? You collect gadgets all the time and none of them live up to their claims, but they look pretty good on the shelf. Or now you've loaded up your credit card yet again for that sewing machine that does everything that you hoped it would, and one day you'll use them all, but you haven't figured out how to use them yet. Does everyone have trouble getting stitches to look straight? Aren't sewing machines supposed to miraculously put things together and just at lightning speed? Or why would anybody sew anything by hand anymore? But then on the other hand, why can't you sew anything by hand? Why can't you put it together by hand? Only I'm not sure I can do it. It seems really complicated. Or how about this one? You've never owned an iron and are darned proud of it. You're not going to be slaving over anything that needs pressing ever. That was over decades ago. Although you do admire how well clothes stand out when they're new, but you really don't like how rubbish clothes look after a few wearings. You recognize that clothing needs to be taken care of, but you're not quite sure how to do it. And how do you ever manage to keep clothing look wearable and neat looking for so many years? Why don't mine look that way? Why can't mine stay like that? Okay, or is this you? You're miserable, you're defeated. Hands up, I'm not capable of instantaneously turning out a decent garment, such as the neighborhood seems to brag about, who can sew up a suit in a few days. Or maybe you've misunderstood, convinced that that's the amount of time it should take to make something up, shouldn't it? In any case, I wish someone would actually say the words. It doesn't actually magically happen at the snap of your fingers. Okay, I'm saying it. It doesn't magically happen at the snap of your fingers. There you go. But you're still discouraged with the results that you're getting. Nothing looks perfectly right, and some things look a little bit off about your creation. You followed all the instructions, condensed and distilled from mountains of how-to sewing guides, and you're continually frustrated because there's no one that you can ask to guide you along. Why can't I just find an expert to show me how to do it? Where is everyone? So the sting is real. We get it. We get it. That overwhelming, extremely frustrating feeling, resignation that it might be too late, my expectations are just too high and unachievable, and I'll never get there. But what if the solution to relieve those feelings of frustration and helplessness and creative despair was available? What if your skills deficit was fillable and your knowledge barrier were removed? What if that became possible to you and accessible to you? What if you had found an experienced guide who would take you by the hand, figuratively speaking, lead you through the wilderness of information, and would clear-cut a path of learning for you, and at the end of your journey, and this is no casual stroll, by the way, the result would be a transformation of unknowing to confidence in your skills and knowledge that would enable you to become the master of your creations. That would enable you to become the master of your creations. And with the added bonuses, you can now visualize there's so many more routes of opportunity that you never knew existed before. So that is what we do. Ecole Haute Couture was designed to be that kind of professional guide to help you prepare for the hike up the learning curve. We begin by assuming that you are a complete novice. You don't have any sewing skills. You've never picked up a needle and thread before. You've seen people do it, but you don't have any experience with it. So with simple explanations and demonstrations, we teach you the basics that you can learn and practice on your own before you commit to the journey. So we will be putting up those foundation instruction videos on our YouTube channel that you can watch, and you can practice the basic modules in the privacy of your own internet space for free. So nobody ever needs to know that you didn't know how to do these things all along. After you have completed those basic modules, perhaps you've discovered that you really hate sewing by hand. It is a nightmare and you don't want to do this after all. And that is good, because then you haven't wasted any of your money or invested more time than necessary. And we're convinced there's another way out there for you somewhere. You just have to keep looking. But on the other hand, if you discover that you love how satisfying and seriously fun it is to be able to be a little bit self-sufficient, to know how to sew buttons back on, or sew up a loose hem, or mend a broken seam, and you feel inspired to sew something completely by hand, then you may have discovered the key. The relatedness between your eyes, your mind, your hands, and your soul. So if being in your own headspace with your thoughts is enjoyable and stimulating, and it feels like a little piece of heaven, then maybe you should continue on with us. Just keep listening. So along the way, you'll have discovered also that there is a way that you can be instrumental in keeping our precious earth safer from suffocating under that ever-increasing mountain of tossed away clothing just by fixing up clothes again. So how can we help you? Whenever you're ready then to take the next step, we'll guide you through the secret world of couture sewing. We'll help you to understand the connections and the relationship between unique body measurements, the different shapes and different postures, and your design, to be able to draft your own original patterns drawn by hand. We'll unravel the mystery about fibers and materials and what they do and why they do them best. And you'll discover that you can do almost everything you need to without a sewing machine. And when you do use one, it doesn't have to be a super spacecraft variety. It can be a very simple one. So back to irons. Pressing tool. Irons are just pressing tools, just like any other tool. And once you know how, you'll be astonished at the professional results that you're going to achieve just by knowing how to press properly. Oh, and perish the thought that it will end your reputation as an iron-free, independent human being with rights who protested and fought for women's liberty and equality in the home. That's not going to be a thing anymore. It's not an issue anymore. So we also expose myths. Yeah, they lied to us. Turning out top-end couture and tailoring does take more time. It takes more attention to detail. It takes lots of patience, and it happens with purposeful intensity that turns a project into a masterpiece. We are not trading you for speed sewing. We'll unearth the beauty of clothing that fits you well and what that will mean, what that means for you. That's another thing about standardized sizing that doesn't live up to its promises. And once you have worn a couture garment made just for you, you will understand why the challenges of mass production for ready-to-wear garments, why that challenge can never be overcome to fit perfectly. It's just an impossible ask. So you'll also be inspired to refine your design ideas by balancing your designs with functionality and using appropriate materials and construction methods, achieving a more perfect fit, adding interesting details, all in synchronous harmony for aesthetically satisfying results. And the best part is that in time you will gain the confidence to try things that you've never done before, you've never attempted, but you know within reason and with a predictable expectation that you will be successful in applying everything that you know and pushing beyond those limits. In other professions and disciplines, they call that calculated risk. Well, that's the calculated risk. You will be able to use what you know to make things you've never done before, and perhaps we haven't taught you. So great couture, like great art, can be achieved, but only with years of experience and practice. And there's always a next idea to try out, to explore, without you having to relearn all of your skills and reinvent yourself as a creator. This never gets dull. We count ourselves among the few who still believe in the importance of nurturing this art form and high level of sewing skills, because it fills our need to create from the soul as well as our minds and our hands, and to move towards a future that will be more sustainable in the fashion industry, and perhaps even put an end to needless waste and reliance on the exploitation of fashion industry workers. Let's face it, the reason that we have such cheap clothing available to us is because we are exploiting workers. So together we can support our local economies, and we need to make it accessible to those who also share our vision. So if you want more information, then please keep visiting our website, follow our Facebook page, keep watching our Facebook or our YouTube videos, and perhaps join our email list. Just send us an email, say you'd like to be added to the list. So we hope this has helped to clarify a little bit more about what we do, and is this for you? Is this something for you? And so thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.